What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rock and Groove. Jay here, and today we're going to be talking about if we really need high wattage amps. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rock and Groove, your one-stop shop for all things guitar. We do free guitar lessons, informational videos, and product reviews. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell and like. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers, so help us out. Let's get there. I have another video that I just finished. When we hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to have a giveaway and you're going to benefit from it. Today we're talking about the one particular question that a lot of guitar players, beginner to intermediate and beyond, have been asking for a long time. I know that I have struggled with this for a long time, especially when it comes to purchasing an amp. And that is, do I really need a high wattage amp to play my music, especially if I'm playing in a gigging band? Let's say I want to join a gigging band. Before I even walk in with my gear to try out or anything like that, do I need to have an impressive high wattage amp to play? First, I'm going to clarify that I'm not really going to go into the differences between tube amps and solid state amps, modulation amps, all of that. I'm not going to go deep into the jargon of electrical engineering and how amps are wired or any of that stuff. I'm going to talk about the basics, the layman information that most people are curious about when it comes to going in and buying an amp. So, number one, let's talk about something called headroom. Putting it in a very, very simplified way, headroom is that point in your volume of your amp that when it is turned up, it starts to get the natural breakup that begins your overdrive. This is normally an attribute of a tube amp. A tube amp is clean until you get your volume to a specific point. There is a natural breakup and you start to hear the distortion. And when you really kick it, it becomes a really nice, smooth, natural overdrive. And when I say natural, I mean we're not using an actual pedal to make that overdrive happen. We're using the natural effects of the headroom and the wattage together inside the amp. So naturally, if you have a high wattage amp, you're going to have to crank that thing up really far in order to get close to the headroom to start having natural breakup. If you have a low wattage amp, you don't have to turn it up as high to start getting that breakup. Let's just say I walk into play and I have a new Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. That's 150 watts. That is an insane amount of volume and wattage happening in that room right there. But I know this, that if I'm wanting to run this through a distortion pedal, or if I'm going to use the distortion setting on the amp, that's probably not going to be an issue. But if I'm looking for natural breakup, there's no way that I'm going to hit that natural breakup, because I've got to turn that thing to literal ear-busting volume before I get that. So that's what you have to understand. If you're looking for natural headroom breakup on your amp, you have to get it close to the very edge of your wattage and volume for that to start happening. Now, with that being the case, let's say that I want to hit that a lot faster, but not have ear-splitting and head-splitting volume in a room with my band or in the bedroom. My wife could go crazy. When I was younger, my mom was always telling me to turn my amp down, and it was a small 15-watt practice amp that I had. So when I have a low wattage amp, especially tube amp, I can turn that up, and the volume will be much lower before I actually hit the headroom and I start to get natural breakup. So that's the first thing we have to understand when it comes to picking out an amp. Are you wanting natural breakup? Are you wanting that smooth sound? Then you probably want to get a lower wattage amp. I play through a Vox Ac30, and I play in a band in a small practice space with drums, 2 other guitar players, and a bass player. And we are running through some serious sound situations here. One of our players has a half stack. He actually has a sound barrier around that. I take my Vox Ac30 and I put it inside of a sound box. Otherwise, that sound is going to blare right directly into someone's face. The other guitar player has his cabinet inside of a sound box as well. Our bass player has his turned into a position where it doesn't destroy everybody's ears. So even when we're playing high wattage or low wattage, we are taking into account how much we really need in that situation. Now, when it comes to low wattage amps, say for instance my Ac15 compared to the Hot Rod DeVille 410 that I was playing at one point. That's a difference of 15 tube watts to 40 tube watts. Naturally, people are going to say, Oh, I need that. I need the 40. I'm gonna get it loud. It's gonna sound awesome. I'm gonna blow everybody away. The problem is that if I don't have a distortion pedal, or I don't like the built-in distortion of that amp, which I didn't, if I had to really turn up to get some natural breakup, I was gonna kill everybody in that practice space, because there was no way I was gonna get to the edge, or where I needed closer to the edge on that 40 watts to get that natural breakup. However, with me having my Vox AC15 being 15 tube watts, I can turn that up and get that natural breakup without killing everyone in the room. And if I want to stack an overdrive pedal over the natural breakup, that's not a problem either. Now, let's just say, like the amp behind me is a solid state amp. Like I said, not going big into the differences here, but I can tell you now that a solid state amp, different than a tube amp, can get to where you want it to get without having to be cranked up or anything like that, warmed up or anything like that. So with this, I have a Fender Princeton 112 Plus. That is a late 90s American-made solid-state Fender amp. It sounds amazing. The one problem is it's 65 watts. I cannot get that thing past number 1 or 1.5 without it getting extremely loud. So there's no way I'm cranking that thing up. There's so much wattage in that I just don't need. Well, let's just say I'm playing in a large club that's really loud and a lot going on. How do I turn this thing up? Well, you have to also keep in mind that normally when you play in a place like that, the sound man is either going to mic you up or run you directly into the PA if need be. If your amp is loud enough, he's probably not going to mess with your amp. I've had that happen. I've had people look at me when I was playing a half stack 5150, and there was no reason to mic that. The problem was with the sound man is that he had to regulate my sound without the board, so he had to tell me when to turn down, turn up to mix it with the band. But I've also played in situations to where my amp was a lot less. And so all he had to do was put a mic in front of my amp or run the cable directly into the back for a direct line out. Either way, it didn't matter how much wattage I had. If it was too quiet, if it wasn't enough wattage, he would mic it and run it through the PA. So that was never really a problem for me. As a matter of fact, I've had more problems with people taking big amps and larger wattage amps into playing clubs, playing gigs in many different places than I have seen problems with people bringing small amps in. People prefer the smaller amps because they can control it a lot more. You cannot control the large amps. The problem with the amp behind me, while it's awesome, it's lightweight, it's easy to move, it's small, and it sounds great, it goes from 1 to 60 in a half a second, meaning that you barely touch that dial, you breathe on it, and the volume jumps completely. On my Vox, being a low wattage amp, not necessarily because it's tube, but with it just being a low wattage amp, I'm able to play with the volume a lot more and not have to worry about it jumping so much and jumping back down and being really loud. I can use the volume controls on my guitar to do a lot more with it. It doesn't have to be a really big killer amp. Yeah, it looks awesome when you see somebody rolling in a half stack, but do you really need it? Today, not really. If you're playing big arenas, and if you're playing really big outdoor venues of some sort, then yes, those can be helpful. But even then, if you're playing somewhere with a sound system, the sound engineer is going to mic you up. So that's not going to be a problem. So when it comes to playing your amp, when it comes to picking an amp to buy, should you or should you not get a high wattage amp? Personally, for me, nowadays, I think, no, I don't need one. I wouldn't get more than a 30 wattage amp. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite bands, Jimmy Eat World, Jim Atkins, was for a very long time playing through a Vox AC30. Now, if you play 30 watts in your bedroom or in your house or even a practice space, that's going to be really loud, and it's more volume than you probably need. You play it in a club, you're not going to max out your volume there at all. You're going to be way under. But if you're playing outside, you may need to crank that up. That could be really good. But like I said, if you're needing that much volume, your sound guy is probably going to crank you up with a mic anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that. I would say 30 watts is really good for a combo amp. For me, I really like 15 watts. That works perfect because it's quiet enough for me to manage in my practice space at home. It's quiet enough for me to really manage with a PA at my practice space, but also I can do what I needed to do when I'm going into a gig. Think about it when you walk into Guitar Center next time and you want to try an amp out. You want to really crank that thing up. In order to really get the good, true, natural sound, especially for a tube amp, you've really got to crank that thing. So if it's a high wattage amp, you're not really touching its full potential without putting it to ear blistering sounds. A low wattage amp is really all you need. You can crank that thing up, get the natural sound to it, and not kill people. and we can always mic it. I hope that helps everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Go to our Instagram page, follow us, like our videos, share them, get the word out. We get to 100 subscribers on YouTube. I've got a giveaway that you're gonna like. Thank you very much, and always remember, have fun.